Yeah, we gave enough time. Gave enough time for the olam to get on. Yeah.
Where's Liner?
He's probably busy by the offer.
He told you should start 7:05 because of him.
Yeah.
We usually wait for a minion, no? Look at that.
Usually wait for a minion, yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Now we have a mezumin.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, well, I don't know, it's weird. It's okay, we'll go, we'll shine. They always have the what's it called? Where'd we get up to? We got up to we got up to 2 dots and yeah, we got up to the 2 dot not the 2 dots. Yeah, Montana Latona. New Testament Aleph, 4 lines down from the top.
Parrot, you're still blinking. We can see you.
What happens? Yaakov lost his internet?
I don't know.
He froze. He disconnect.
I thought he was still looking for the place. Now I'm in the middle of uploading Friday's share, so I can find out where we got up to if you want.
He said, no.
He said Yud Testament Aleph, 4 lines from the top.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh, you see, it's Basher. They got knocked off, and now Naphtali's on. Look at that. Look at that. Okay.
Naphtali at 7:20.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why'd we start later for you for 7:05? Why'd you say start 7:05 for?
So what time tomorrow is the share, Yaakov? We're done, yeah?
I don't understand. We're talking
Yeah,
about
we're done. Have a good night, everybody. Have a good night. Good night. It was the Gishmaka Daf. Thank you.
Liner, have a safe trip home, Liner.
Yeah.
Naftali, all the best.
Give me the YouTube then.
Okay, we'll do it again. We'll do it again for Naphtali. We'll do it again. Y'all Mask do it again.
Vitaki didn't hit
And
record.
Rav Aaron will stay on.
I tried as fast as I could. What do you want?
If you ask me, parrots, I'll do it. Yeah.
Okay. Not for Naphtali, for parents.
Naftali, Rav Aaron put a shirt on for you.
Go ahead.
True story.
Rav Aaron, you're I don't know, some mechutton to you. Jack Bishopster was here.
He's my brother's mechutton.
My brother, I said some mechutton. I didn't know. Yeah, so he was here.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Taking a 9:00 flight back to Toronto.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Mamish Moitzi Shemar, he's not flying private. He said that on Rabin Shir, the guy's not flying private. I can't believe it.
He asked my brother-in-law to go a little fast by Myra because there's a 9:00 flight. So my brother-in-law said, "What do you mean? A real flight or one of your flights that we don't have to rush for?"
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Okay. So we're 4 lines down. Right. So again, we're talking about so a nazir that was tamei, and well, we have two types of nazir. So we have a nazir who's a regular nazir and then becomes tamei. That's the standard. Then you have the guy who's in the braysa kvaros, and then he decides to become a nazir. So basically, with this, the part of the sugya that could make a difference is the last. So basically, when he comes tamei, so he has to wait 7 days, and then he does the sprinkling, then he goes to the mikveh, and then he becomes tahor the 8th night. So the shaila was, when does his nizirus start? Does it start from day 7? does it start from day 8? So basically, just to chazak quickly, we had four shitas. We had four shitas of when it starts again. Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Yehuda, right? And he held, and Rabbi Eliezer held that right on day 7 day 7 gets counted twice. It's day 7 of the tahara process, and it's day 1 for his nizirus count. Rebbe held that it's the 8th day, but you don't need to bring the korban. He brings the korban on the 8th day. Rebbe held it's the 8th day. You don't need to bring the korban though. I mean, you have to bring the korban, but the count starts, even let's say korban gets delayed till day 9, the countdown starts on day 8, right? But the Rabbanon hold that the count starts on day 8, but only if he brings the korban on day 8. If he, for whatever reason, doesn't bring the korban on day 8, and let's say he brings it on day 9, then the count starts on day 9. And Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Yochanan ben Braysa says you need the 8th day and the chatas and the asham, not just the chatas, but the asham too. And then and that was love. Then there was, everybody holds that the korban olah does not have to be brought. I mean, it has to be brought, but it's not ma'atum. Fine. Okay, so man tana lo de tana rabbanon. So now the Gemara says, who's the tana that said Isha shenadra ben nazir nitma? If a woman, she made, it's an interesting lashon, shenadra ben nazir. Right? We usually just say she became a nazir. Right? Here it's saying shenadra ben nazir. She made a neder that she's a nazir. Okay. I don't know why it chooses that lashon, but then v'nitma, then she became tameh. And after that, her husband was made for her neder, her nizirus.
Is it saying that she doesn't become a female nazir right away? She's just making a vow that she's gonna become a nazir, and then she became tameh. So this is happening before she's actually tameh.
You mean she said that she's going to be a nazir in a week?
Nazir.
You're saying like she would become a nazir in a week, let's say? She says,
yeah. Like she's becoming a nazir, then she becomes tameh, and then before she actually starts her nizirus. That's what it's saying. Isha shenadra.
Yeah, but the only thing is, then why would she have to bring korbanos? No, it's going to say you have to bring korbanos. So I don't know. No, I think. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, so again, Isha shenadra b'nazir b'nitma. She made a neder of nazir b'nitma, and then her husband's made for it. So now the problem is that once she became tameh, so now she needs to bring korbanos, right? So now she was mafresh to korbanos, and now her husband's made for the neder. So she was never a nazir now, but now you have these korbanos. So what do? So mevia chatas ha'oif, she brings the chatas ha'oif. Again, there's 3 korbanos that a nazir that becomes tameh has to bring: a chatas, an asham, and an olah. So she did this, and then her husband was made for it. So it comes out l'mafreya, she wasn't even a nizirus. So what do? Mevia chatas ha'oif, she brings her chatas ha'oif, ve'ein mevia olah, but she doesn't bring the olah, right? And or the asham either, right? So the Gemara is going to ask what the pshat in this is. But who is the Tana? So Amar Rav Chisda, Rabbi Yishmael. It's Rabbi Yishmael ben Rabbi Yochanan ben Braysa, who says that the olah that she does have to bring the olah, right? Not she. I'm saying normally you do have to bring the olah, right? So the Gemara, right, because it's saying she brings the chatas ha'oif and she does not bring the olah ha'oif. So we're saying that it's Rabbi Yishmael, meaning the olah ha'oif is considered a chashuv thing. So the Gemara says, "Ikasavar bal mi akar akar." We had this in the Durham. Well, what's going on here? If we hold that when the husband is made for the woman's neder, then he's totally oikerit. So the chatas ha'oif nami lo laisis. So then she doesn't have to bring the chatas ha'oif either, because she's totally potter. He totally negated her nizirus. Ikasavar bal megas guy is, but if you say no, he cuts it up, meaning from now on she's not a nazir, but she was a nazir until he was made for it. Then olas ha'oif nami laisi. So if you're going like Rabbi Yishmael, he holds that the olas ha'oif has to be brought just like the chatas ha'oif. So then why doesn't she also have to bring the olah, right? Meaning the olah we're saying that this is going according to R Yishmael, who says that the chatas and the olah are equal. So if that's the case, so why is she only bringing the chatas and not the olah? If you hold that the Baal totally uproots the nizirus as if it didn't exist, so she shouldn't bring the chatas either. And if he just splits it, and she's not a nazir from now on, but whatever days of nizirus she kept till now, then she has to keep it, meaning, and she became tameh. So if that's the case, so then she should need to bring the olah soif too. So one answers, no. Really, he holds that the Baal uproots it. Rabbi Yishmael, he holds like Rabbi Eliezer Akfar, who says that a nazir is doing a chet, right? And Mamela, meaning she doesn't have to bring anything. But since she did a chet, so she has to bring a chatas. Right? Now, what is this talking about? And this is the big steer here between the Gemara here and the Gemara in the Dharm. The Tani Eliezer Akfar b'Rebbe Yomer, Ma tamalem v'chiper Allah me'asher chata ala nefesh. Right? She has to do a kapara for what she did, that she did a chet ala nefesh. What chet did she do? Right? Or not he. What chet did the nazir do? What are you saying that he needs a kapara, right? The nazir at the end has to bring a korban chatas. So what does he need to do? What chet did he do? He was mitzar himself not to drink wine, which meaning he was mitzar himself from eating from nene from the Rabbanu Shalom. This guy Nazir who made himself. He caused himself pain by not drinking wine. Somebody who's mitzar himself from anything else, from other things, it's alachas kama that he's doing a chet. Right? Okay, so let's just finish this and we'll talk about it. But Nazir tamei, but this says it by a Nazir tamei. Where it says that a Nazir needs a kapara by a Nazir tamei. Not by it. We're talking about a regular plain nazir. That's tar. You're saying that he's did a chet too. So Gemara answers, yeah, because nazir tar nami chaytahu. Even a nazir tar is a chet. Behind no time of the chsib, but nazir tamei hayol b'shina b'chet b'shana b'chet, because he has to do a double chet. The reason why he says it by a kayin who becomes tamei is because he's doing a double chet. One, he did it. He stopped himself from wine. Then he made himself a nazir. Now he has to stop himself from wine again. So he did it twice. Two, he's going to end up doing it twice. So he has the double issa, so that's why it says about him. But really, according to Rabbi Eliezer, a nazir is over on a chet for withholding wine from himself. And then kol shekin if somebody withholds other things. So I don't understand. Are we supposed to try every type of food in the world and be nana? This is a Super Bowl. It's a Super Bowl thing. I'm saying, was that? You come in and the Olam's eating echveis. I don't know, every sale they have on all parts of cockamamie foods, right? Papa's this and Papa's that. Am I supposed to have that? And if I withhold it, forget about whether I watch the game or not. I'm saying I come into the party and they have the food. Yeah? Am I doing an aveira by not eating? Isn't that mashma from this Gemara that I'm doing an aveira by not eating? Saying if a guy who's withholding wine from himself is doing a chet, it says alachas kama v'kama on somebody who withholds more things than just wine. So I don't understand. We keep being brought up with this precious, right? Do you have to be pirish? I mean, are we doing a chet or we're not doing a chet? Nobody has an answer. Silence.
Well, does a vegan have to bring a carbon?
Maybe. I'm saying it could be.
I
think a vegan's puzzle.
What kind of carbon does he bring? Right, he has a shlom. He has a tofu shlomim, right?
Hey, what's his name to explain the mushrooms? Maybe Simon.
Yeah, I listen. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what this means here. I looked up a little bit in Shulchan Aruch about eating. Good, so overeating you shouldn't do. Okay, but it sounds like you should have foods you should enjoy. So where do you draw the line about? I guess overconsumption is an issue, but to have a little bit, that's the only thing I think. You have a little bit of wine, a little bit of this type of food, a little bit of that, that's fine. But to overeat, that's not fine.
Maybe the Gemara is drawing a line.
You hit mute.
We're not a religion of abstinence.
That's for sure. You're 100%. You're 100% right.
So that when someone does have to say, I make a neder or nizirus, that they pull all that stuff out of their life, they're sinning.
Okay, so what do you say, like Rabban asked? What about Rav Steinman?
What was the question? What about Rav Steinman?
Rav Steinman hardly
He
ate
ate,
anything.
all he ate was old challah and hot water or whatever.
You don't think he was
just
yotzei arba kosos?
splurged.
That was a splurge. That was Rosh Chodesh.
You don't think he drank arba kosos, the seder?
No,
I
that's
can't
not
so I'm not talking about his Mekim mitzvahs. It's not. No, I'm
I'm saying, but on a daily basis, he did not have normal foods. I don't know. No, I'm saying it, but we throughout Yiddishkeit, we're always talking about precious but the truth is, I don't know. Is it a chet to make a tainus? Saying to make a tainus yachid or whatever, is that a chet? It doesn't say that's a chet. Maybe that's only a temporary, but so is Nazir only temporary. So, I mean, what's it? Together is a month. So I did see in the Dirshu, I went to check the back of the Dirshu, see if they said, they didn't really say much, but they did say there's an interesting thing. If a guy has a bad dream Friday night, so he can fast Shabbos day, but he has to fast again on Sunday because he fasted on Shabbos. One of those interesting halachas, like if it's so bad to fast, then why are you fasting on Shabbos? But you fast on Shabbos and then you fast again because you fasted on Shabbos. Right? So you're called a chatas for fasting on Shabbos, but you're a good chatas. Obviously, you're a good chatas. Meaning you did a chet, meaning you got to get punished, but lemaisa, it's called a chet, but it's not, you know what I mean? It should be the biggest chet. Right? So they wanted to compare it to that he's saying, like, if the nazir becomes tamei, so that's a major chet. But a nazir who's tahor, it's a chet, but it's okay, but it's not the worst chet in the world. So I don't know. They said something like that.
He's bringing a carpenter rice. He's bringing a carpenter chatas there rice. It must be not good.
I guess. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a very confusing thing here. Fine. Okay. Let's see. So we said that he goes out of the cemetery, then he becomes tahor, and then he goes back in. So then he could start his count. Meaning, what does that mean? Meaning, and he becomes tamei again, so he has to start all over again. So the Gemara says, it counts for the minion. Sounds like when he leaves the cemetery, the nizirus happens, even though he didn't yet become tahor, right? Because it says yotza, he left the cemetery, v'nichnas, and he goes back in. The nizirus starts. Why? He didn't become tahor yet. Right? So Amar Shmuel could go and sheyotza v'hiza b'shana v'taval. Right? He left the cemetery. He had the blood, the Efer Parah sprinkled on him, and then he did it twice, and then taval, and then he was taval, and then he went back in. Right? So that's what you have to say is pshat. Then it sounds like though, if he left and he went back in, he starts as nizirus. Mashma that if he didn't go back into the cemetery, it doesn't start. Again, if he goes in, it works. He didn't go in, it doesn't become a nazir. How could that be? What do you have to become tamei in order to become a nazir? Right? Let me buy commerce. So it's saying let me buy yotza. It goes without saying that if he leaves the cemetery and goes through the tahor process, he is tahor, and he starts as nizirus. But even if he goes back in, his nizirus starts, which he's going to immediately have to start again because he just became tamei. But the nizirus does start, right? Fine. So Amalei Rav Kahana Rav Asi Rav. This is also interesting thing that happened here. I don't know exactly what this is all about. My time, why don't you explain this to us? Right? I thought maybe you don't need me to explain it to you. It's almost like they say to the Rebbe, why did you tell us pshat in the Mishnah? He answered them, I thought you knew pshat. I didn't tell you pshat because I thought you knew pshat. Right? It's like a Magashir gets up and he says a thing and says a memra. and the guys don't even know what he's basing it on. He says, "Oh, I thought you knew the Gemara that I was talking about." Right? Okay, so I'm saying, what's their time on him? Don't know. Fine. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Rabbi Eliezer has a different sheet. He says because it says.
Yaakov, it sort of happens on the daf. Like we said, we just had this few daf ago.
That's true. No, sometimes, yes, you have to. You think like, oh yeah, we had it 2 days ago. We remember. No, we don't remember. We don't. Unfortunately, right? Yeah, you're right. He says not that day. Meaning, Rabbi Eliezer holds that you need to be a nazir for at least 2 days in order for the nazir count to start. You need to be a nazir for 2 days, right? So Rabbi Eliezer we're saying that the Yomim Harishonim Yiplu is the pasuk, that the first days are going to fall away because he became tamei, but it means Yomim, plural. He needs to be a Nazir for 2 days if his nizirus is going to fall away. So Amar Ulah, Eliezer, that's only by a tamei who became a Nazir. Meaning Rabbi Eliezer says his din by a guy like the guy who was in the cemetery and then became a Nazir. So he needs to have at least 2 days of tahara before his Nazir count. Before, if he becomes the tamei, will knock away his nizirus. But Nazir tahor shenitma, but a Nazir tahor that becomes tamei, afilu yom echad saisa, then by him it's even 1 day. Meaning, we're saying according to Rabbi Eliezer, we're on the bottom line. Good we're on the bottom line. We're saying that according to Rabbi Eliezer, he said that you need, in order for the tumah to knock off the nizirus, you have to have at least be on the 2nd day of your nizirus. If you're only on your 1st day of nizirus, it doesn't count. That's what Rabbi Eliezer holds. So the Gemara is saying now that's only if the guy was tamei when he became a nazir, and now he became tahor again. He needs to have 2 days. But if a regular nazir who then became tamei and then became tahor, then his nazir count starts even on the 1st day. He doesn't need to wait till the 2nd day. Meaning that, okay, I keep saying that if the count doesn't start, the count starts from day 1 according to everybody. But what happens if he becomes tamei on day 1? So Eliezer says in the Mishnah, he does not have to start his nizirus count again. Only if he becomes nazir on day 2. To which the Gemara is saying that day 2 only applies to a nazir who was tamei before he even became a nazir. But a nazir who was tahor and then became tamei does not have to wait till day 2 to knock off his nizirus. It's even on day 1. That's what the Gemara is saying. So on tamei base. So Amar Rava, my time of the Rebbe Eliezer. Why does Rebbe Eliezer say this? Amar Krak, he's tamei nizrei. When he's a tamei, when his nizirus became tamei. Mishum de betuma nazar. The reason why he has this 2nd day thing is because he became a nazir while he was tamei. Right? Fine. Now the Gemara asks a long kasha. Whatever. It's like a 10-line kasha, which requires a little bit of basic arithmetic. So Esvei Abaye asked the kasha. If a guy said he's a nazir for 100 days, and he became tamei in the beginning of his 100, meaning day 1. The guy announces today he's becoming a nazir, and that day he becomes tamei. So you would say yachol yesai. So you would think he knocks out that 1st day and he has to start again. The 1st days, meaning plural, they fall away. He has to have days plural, 1st days. He didn't have plural days. He only had 1 day. Right. So again, this is clearly saying that this is a nazir who was tahor. He said he's a nazir for 100 days. He became tamei on day 1. And the Gemara is clearly saying that he does not have to start from scratch because he wasn't a nazir for 2 days. Fine. Nitma b'saif meya. Let's say it becomes tamei at the end, meaning on day 100. So you think, okay, he's a big loser because he waited 100 days in nizirus, then he became tamei on the last day. So you would think that it knocks it off. It says that the first days fall away. That's mashma, that there are last days, right? There are later days. Meaning it says Yamim Harishonim Yiplu. The first days fall away and he has to start again. That's mashma that there's achrayim. But here it doesn't have achrayim, meaning multiple days, because he became tamei on day 100. So therefore, he does not have to start again, because if he become tamei on day 99, so then there's 2 days left. There's day 99 left and day 100. But if he became tamei on day 100, then he does not have to start over. Fine. So then you would think, okay, if it became tamei on the day 100 minus 1, which is 99, so you would think that this is not going to be saisa. The first days will fall away. It's masha that there are achrayim. And this guy has first days and last days. And therefore, he knocked it out, meaning he became tamei on day 99, so he has 2 days left, 99 and 100, right? And so therefore he has multiple days in the beginning, because he became a nazir. He has to become a nazir on day 2, and he became a nazir became tamei on day 99. So he had 2 days in the beginning, 2 days in the end. He has to start again, right? Okay, so what's the kasha? But tamei shenazir loy matzisami. You can't be talking about a tamei who became a nazir. Why? It says beferish. He says, I'm a nazir for 100, and he became tamei b'tchilas meya. Right? V'katani, and we said achiyula yomim rishonim. He needs to have yomim rishonim plural. So tiyuftah, this slugs it up. Right? Again, this braysa said that if a guy makes himself a nazir for 100 days, so he has to become a nazir on day 2. I'm sorry, he has to become tamei on day 2 or tamei on day 99. And then he will have to wipe it clean, because he has multiple days at the beginning, multiple days at the end. Right? And we're clearly talking about a kohen who was a nazir, who was tahor before he became tamei. And you see that unless he has multiple days, he's not tamei. So this slugs up what we just said on Amud Aleph, that Rebbe Eliezer only says his din by a nazir who was tamei before he became a nazir. We had said that if he becomes tamei after he's a nazir, then right on day 1, if he becomes tamei, it wipes everything clean, and this clearly slugs that up. So tiyuftah, fine. So Rav Papa Abaya. So Rav Papa asked Abaya, halon yoyim the kamrinan, the days, the plural days that we said. What does it mean, days? Does it mean after 1 day and once the second day starts? Meaning basically he holds mixus a yom kekula, meaning guy becomes a nazir today, and then after he starts the second day, tomorrow night, he becomes tamei. So that's already 2 days. No, he holds you need 2 full days. So that means he has to become tamei when he's already into the 3rd day, which is basically a question, the way I'm understanding it, is whether he says mixus yom kekula or not. So this was his question. So he said, lo yava biyadei. It was not in his hand, meaning he didn't know. So also shaila l'Rava. He came to ask it to Rava. So it's interesting, right? He asked Abaya. Rav Papa asked Abaya. Abaya didn't know the answer. Who did he go to? His arch rival, right? He went to Rava. Right? I mean, I imagine they got along. They just disagreed on almost everything. But other than that, they must imagine they got along. Amrale, he said, Yiplu ksiv. It says Yiplu. Right? So they will fall. That's the way you have to touch. Right? So Yiplu, with it says Haryamim Harishonim Yiplu, right? Meaning it's just the 1 day. 1 day will make the whole thing new. So as long as he's into the second day, fine. Now the thing is, though, we have 2 psukim here. We're saying Yiplu and Yomim, right? Yomim tells you it needs to be plural days, and Yiplu also does. So what are you saying? So why you need both? So the one says Yomim, Yiplu. We need to write Yomim and we need to write Yiplu. Because of Rahman Yomim, but because of Yiplu, if it would say Yomim and wouldn't write Yiplu, Havamina Adanaf can train by islands lesson. I would have thought until 2 days have gone out and he's already into the third day. That's how many days you need. Because of Rahman Yiplu, so the Torah says Yiplu that you don't need full 2 days. You just have one full day and then partially into the second. Because of Yiplu, but because of Yomim, and if you say Yiplu and you don't write Yomim, Havamina afilu chad, you would have thought that even if it's just 1 day, because of Rahman Yomim, so that's what the Torah told Yomim, that you need to be into the second day of nizirus and then become tamei in order to wipe it clean. But if you become a nazir and then become tamei on day 1, then you would not wipe it. You would not wipe it clean. Okay, a little technical that Gemara. Fine. Let's just see the Mishnah. So it's an interesting case here. We had it referred to in the Dorim, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. So anyway, Misha Nazir Nizirus Harbe. So let's say somebody was a Nazir many times when he wasn't in Eretz Yisrael. V'hishlemes Nizirusai, and he did all his Nizirusim. And then he came to Eretz Yisrael. Why did he come to Eretz Yisrael? To bring his karbanos. That's what Tosfos says. Right? He has to come bring his karbanos. He came to Eretz Yisrael. So he was a Nazir in Chutz La'aretz, and he came to Eretz Yisrael. He has to be a Nazir for 30 days in Eretz Yisrael because the Chayri, he was tamei when he was in Chutz La'aretz. Chutz La'aretz is metama, right? So a Nazir can't become tamei. So therefore, he has to keep a 30-day nizirus, and that's it, before he can bring his karbanos. But again, this means even if he was a Nazir for a year, or 2 years, whatever amount, Bishamai says he still needs to become a Nazir for 30 days.
He wasn't why was he a Nazir then?
Well, I mean, he becomes a Nazir in Chutz La'aretz, but it could be he was a tamei Nazir.
You can make yourself a Nazir.
So why isn't that the same? Why isn't it the same thing as the Nazir in the basic verse?
Well, it's not the way I understand it, it's not a vaday tumah, it's a chashash of tumah. We're going to see in the Gemara, was it a chumrah or was it like an ikar din? The main reason why they made Chutz La'aretz tamei, one second, the reason why they made Chutz La'aretz tamei is they didn't know where people were buried. People just buried right smack in the middle of the street, so you didn't know, which is quite interesting because if anything, we say there's a better Eretz Yisrael now, that you have no idea where anybody's buried, right? That's all the archaeological.
Not only that, there's a ton of parks in Manhattan that were burial grounds, and we know that.
Okay, so there you go. So then that's then maybe that's where they made it a takana. So the question is, which can be in the Gemara, is whether it was gezerah or whether it was a real gezerah or whether it was just a chumrah. What are you saying, Avi?
Architori used to be in a cemetery on Caffrey Avenue. The Cornell
Oh, I
burial
remember that. Yeah, Taka, right. Yeah. What are you saying, Naftali?
So it's not the same thing that a Nazir that made himself a Nazir in the basic verse that we had in 2 Mishnas ago.
Correct. It's not the same thing, but it's a chashash. So Mamela, so Beis Shammai says
so he has to do 30 days.
Right. So the chiddush of Beis Shammai is even though he was a Nazir he could have been a Nazir 100 times in Chutz La'aretz, right? And then he comes to bring his carbon, he only has to keep a 30-day. He doesn't have to become a Nazir for every time that he was a Nazir. Beis Hillel disagrees. Beis Hillel, I'm a Nazir betchilas. Nazir betchila. He's a Nazir from the beginning, meaning he has to, with the way the Rush says that he's like Naftali was saying, he's like a guy who became a Nazir in a cemetery. And a guy who became a Nazir in a cemetery has to start all his count again. So usually it's interesting. Usually Beis Hillel is the Mekel and Beis Shammai is the Machmer. Here Beis Hillel is the Machmer, right? Beis Hillel is saying that he has to keep his whole, let's say he was a Nazir for 100 days. So Beis Shammai says when he comes out to Yisrael, he only needs to be a Nazir for 30 days. Beis Hillel says, no, you got to keep his whole 100 days, no different than a guy who made himself a Nazir when he was in a cemetery. Fine.
Kind of schwer because the Gemara in Be'ah brings all the places where Beis Hillel was more machmer than Beis Shammai, and this is not one of them. In the Gemara in Be'ah, it says it's
right. I didn't.
This is not brought over there.
I mamish thought about this just now while we're learning it. That why don't they bring this unless you say it's not a chumrah?
Okay, we'll see.
I don't know. So okay, so let's see. So Ma'aseh b'Hilni Amalka. There was a story with Hilni Amalka.
Why is it a chumrah? What does he have to do?
According to Beis Hillel, he has to keep, let's say he was a nazir for 100 days, he has to be, when he gets there to Israel, he has to be a nazir for 100 days.
So it's not a chumrah.
Well, according to Beis Shammai, he only has to be a nazir for 30.
So just because by Shammai said that doesn't make Beis Hillel a chumrah.
It's not, I'm saying
what happens? What happens if he was a nazir 18 different times in Chutz La'aretz? That's an interesting case. I don't understand what's so interesting about this. Let him make it. He was a nazir for 18 times.
Yeah, that's yes, Anachanami. So according to Beis Hillel, he has to keep his nizirus for 18 times. According to Beis Shammai, only once.
This is the mishna. The mishna said harbe.
Yeah.
He said more than one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's see. Maisa b'Hilni Amalka. Shahalach b'Nala Milchama. Hilni Amalka's son went out to war. She was a Gioiris, Hilni Amalka. Bamra, and she said him, Yabe b'Nimin Amalchama b'Shalom. If he comes home in peace, nizirus sheva shanim. I'm going to be a nizirah for 7 years. Uba b'Namin Amalchama, and her son came from the Milchama, v'Haisa nizirus sheva shanim, and she became a nizirah for 7 years. Ubasayv sheva shanim also La'aretz. So she went up to Eretz Yisrael to bring her karbanos. V'Hairua Beis Hillel. She went to the wrong rabbi. She went to Beis Hillel, and Beis Hillel paskin, you got to be a nizir for another 7 years. Ubasayv sheva shanim nitmeis. She was really having a rough time of it. At the end of the 7 years, she became tamei. So guess what? She had to do another 7 years. V'nim says nazira esrim v'achas shana. She was a nazira for 21 years, right? The first 7 years she kept in Golus. The 7 years Beis Hillel made her become a nazira, and then she became tamei at the end of her 7 years. So then she needed another 7 years. That's the story. Amud Rabbi Yehuda said, "Loi haisa." She was not. That wasn't the way it went down, right? Loi haisa gezeira ela arba esrei shana. It only happened for 14 years, right?
That's gezeira or nizira?
What?
You said Loi haisa. What's the next word?
Haisa nizira. Did I say gezeira?
I think so. Yeah. That's why I want to know.
Oh, no, sorry. Haisa nizira. Yeah, I did say gezeira. I apologize. Loi haisa nizira. I'm getting old, which I tell you. Loi haisa nizira ela arba esrei shana. She was only in Nazira for 14 years, not 21 years. So the Gemara is going to ask, is that going according to Beis Shammai? Is he saying like they kept like Beis Shammai, or did he do like Beis Hillel, but the story changed? That we'll see Be'ez Hashem in the Gemara tomorrow. All right?
She should have been Megayer with Beis Shammai. Because this way, she must have been Megayer with Beis Hillel. He was the Makel and Gairus. So she should have been Megayer with Beis Shammai, and then she would have got off easier.
She was such a tamima. She didn't know there was rabbi shopping while she was a guy. She didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah.
She should have read the Jewish yellow pages.
Yeah. Anyway, so actually, Rabbi Perseda said over a fascinating story, talk about Geirus Stam. But to Shabbos is the time for stories, so I guess we'll say a story. He said that the Katzin, Rav Katzin, he was in charge of Russian, I don't know, he's in charge of chinuch for Russians, and he said like a 75-year-old man came and brought in a couple of kids to the school. So he says, oh, you want to register your grandchildren? He said, no, they're not my grandchildren, they're my children. He says, you sure? They're very young, you're old to have little kids. He said, what's your story? He said, I'll tell you my story. He said, I was a guy by the, what is it called? Baba Yar, where they still, they shot Ukraine. No? He says, I was a guy, by Ukraine, right? And I saw them killing, they were just busting in the Yidden and lining them up. He says, I didn't know what to do with myself. I climbed up a tree and I just hid in the tree. He's a guy. And he just watched, he said, a whole night, just bringing busloads of Yidden, shooting them in. And he said to himself, he said, I'd rather be with the people that are being shot than the people that are doing the shooting. Right? And he said, from that, I decided I'm becoming a ger. The problem was during the Milchama, he could find nobody to be Megayer him. He went around from Bezdin to Bezdin. Nobody was being Megayer him. Finally, he found one Bezdin to be Megayer him. Then he went to Eretz Yisrael. By the time that all this went down, he didn't get married till very late. So he had these young kids. All right, pretty. That was the end of the story. And that's
Wow. And where did the story happen?
in the Baba Yar. I think Baba Yar it's called, right? In the
No,
UK,
not where the
in
shooting was
Ukraine.
happening. Where he went to.
Oh, I don't know if I think it sounded like in America. He came. I know it was American Eretz Yisrael. He brought his kids when they were ready to go to school. So he's a Russian, and he brought his kids to a Russian school. So that's what he said. That was his story. So anyway, so Rabbi Pera tied it into Yisrael. You know, you got to make your choices. Sometimes you got to make a life's choice. You're going to be with the good guys, or you're going to be with the bad guys. And sometimes it's not a popular choice. This guy did it. So whatever, very interesting.
See, Yaakov,
Yeah.
it's a very good story, but I just put on my thing. How are these Schmendricks having halftime for Torah? They got 5 speakers. What are they, Michigan?
5 speakers in one halftime.
That's what it says here on the thing. Chazak, they got 5 speakers.
Maybe, I hate to
And
say
it's,
this.
It's the
Maybe
who's who. It's the who's who of speakers.
Yeah, but my
Byron, you don't understand. They each get a mic and they go in and out to give each other a break during the speech. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And then they change, and then they change their clothing in between. You know what I mean? We're from a spuddick to a frock.
But I have a thought on a serious note. If these people watching,
go on a different Zoom, please.
Avi, we passed the serious notes a long time ago, Avi.
No, Ramarin, come on, listen. These guys are watching the game anyway, right? And if they're tuned into Chazak and they're going to skip the halftime show, if there's anything that's going to get them to skip the halftime show, that's a big deal.
No, that's true. You can't say there is truth to it, but on the other hand,
Especially this year's halftime show.
I don't know what they're doing this year's halftime show, but I know that they've been getting more and more disgusting as the years progress.
You know, it's Yavi, it's too bad you said to be serious, because I was going to make a joke like maybe these rabbis know something we don't, and they're going to think there's going to be a wardrobe malfunction, and it's going to take.
Exactly.
Right. So, but to take it
Jacob.
serious, no, it's what do you call it? You're right. It's a double-edged sword. On the one hand, why not? They should do it. On the other hand, don't mix Torah with shtusim. You know what I mean? Let the shtusim be the shtusim, and both sides are valid.
But think about who they're doing it for. But who are they catering to? Who are they targeting? That's the point.
Jacob, this is the big mitay shalai l'shma b'alishma.
Yeah, listen. There's valid points to it. But it's a bit diavad and whatever. You're right.
The question is, can I get these 5 speakers without tuning into the Super Bowl?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I'm not planning on
watching.
I'm sure it'll be on YouTube.
You know, some guy with Rabbi Center's yeshiva doesn't have a halftime show. They do the whole Super Bowl.
All the yeshivas doing. Yeshiva Farako has parents.
Eretz Yisrael throughout the whole thing. They learn the whole night. They
Parrots, Mendel's yeshiva. I didn't speak to him this week, so I don't know. They always go away. They rent a villa in Eilat with 25 TVs, and they go for Shabbos, and then Sunday till the game starts, they go out on a yacht and they have a geschmack, because they can't stay in Yerushalayim because the guys go to bars and they just have fist fights because the game starts 2:00 in the morning. So the guy and all the yeshivas, whoever stays in Yerushalayim, the guys go get drunk out in the morning. They just have fist fights. It's 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. They're watching a football game in a bar. So a lot of yeshivas take the boys. They take the boys out of Yerushalayim for this Shabbos.
I was stuck with a bunch of Hasidim this Shabbos. It was my father's yard site, so I was kind of stuck. I don't know when this is, but they have a thing of Nitternacht. So Nitternacht. So every other day, my son comes home. It's Nitternacht. So
I think he's taking advantage of
this. I guess this is going to be another one.
He's talking about their machmer and nittelnacht. They keep all the nittelnachts. There's the 20. There's like 3 or 4 different churches that keep it. So they keep all the nittelnachts. So the boys are machmer. So they just don't play cards on Hanukkah. They play all the nittelnachts. They have 4 or 5 nittelnachts.
That's great.
What time tomorrow?
Regular time, be it halftime or, I mean, if Itaka 8:30 if that's halftime, is that like Marazion?
Right, then we shouldn't do it. We should change the time.
Yes.
Come on, guys.
Why? What time does the Super Bowl start?
6:30, no?
I don't know, 6:30, 6:40.
Rabbeinu Tom?
I don't know.
I'm gonna ask the stupid question of the night. Who's in the Super Bowl?
That's fine.
I have no idea.
The hockey game they play between the Canadians and
Two football teams.
Right, that much I know.
a bunch of men
Naftali,
wearing
Naftali,
women's
it's
pants.
We have a great
United.
opportunity here. We can tell Tully it's the Giants and the Patriots, and Monday
Let's
morning.
sign
we
into
don't get to work.
Naftali draft. Naftali's
You
draft
said 8
king's
o'clock, right?
account.
Can I
Right.
do anything?
Amara, we can have Naftali walking
Okay.
around on Monday asking everybody how the Giants
Good,
did.
how are you?
Right.
I wouldn't ask. I wouldn't care.
Naftali, actually, you're coming back from Muncie. So if you go to the will call window in the Meadowlands, I left 2 tickets for you. And go to the will call on the way back and stop in the Meadowlands.
Naftali, I'll just tell
Tiki
you.
Tiki Barber left 2 tickets for you. He told me.
You say, don't, no matter what, don't drive in Philly tomorrow night. That's what I'm.
Either
That's
way.
a good point. That's a good point.
I'll
What were you
tell
gonna say,
you,
Rabbi?
okay, Naftali, you're better than Rabbi Brown because Rabbi Brown, Rashid Franco, he has a whole Super Bowl program, like Aaron Kaplan was saying, like they're learning and all that. So Rabbi Brown is going to be the speaker. And they went up to him and they told him, like, at least you have to know who's in the Super Bowl and, like this. Eh? So he says, you don't think I know who's in the Super Bowl? You think I live in a cave? All right. So I guess, Naftali, you live in a cave.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also live in a cave. I have no idea who's in the Super Bowl.
Okay, it's Rabbi Brown's home team, so it's not a raya. But
Where's he from?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay.
Don't be a lamppost tomorrow.
There you go.
And I guess it has something to do with Phoenix because you guys were bothering Eliezer last week.
It's in Phoenix.
You
It's in
can't get
Phoenix.
nothing past you, boy. If you ever lose your job in real estate, you go work for the CIA. Naftali, your mom is on top of it. Unbelievable.
He's sharp as a tack.
Rabbi, that was one of your best lines.
Yeah. Now we yikes everything. We said a ma'isa from Malav Malka. We made fun of Naftali. We're ready to start the week. Baruch Hashem. We're ready to roll.
I get them.
All right.
Naftali, after you go work for the CIA, Naftali, after you go work for the CIA, if you see any white balloons flying around, just wave to them.
Yeah, he probably has no idea what you're talking
I don't
about.
get that. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Naftali, they made a birthday party for the Chinese president in Montana. And they let off these big white balloons.
Okay.
That's all. But they happen to have been spy balloons. They happen to have been spy balloons spying on the United States.
There was one over Canada today.
Right.
They
They
shot
shot
it
one
down.
over Canada today, yeah.
Yeah. The Chinese are spying on us with balloons. That's what that meant.
Well, but we shot it down after 5 days after it spied on the whole country.
Correct. He probably just wanted cheap tickets to the Super Bowl.
So maybe I should.
It's good enough, Tully. It's better to be like that.
I don't know. Maybe I should listen to news again. I haven't listened in years.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Anyways, good to walk. Naftali, drive
good luck.
safe.
Yes, good luck. I'm gonna go pack up.